At LangChain, we want to make it as easy as possible to build agentic applications. And a big part of agentic applications is the UI and the UX that goes along with it. And that's why I'm so excited today to show off an integration and a partnership with Assistant UI, a React component library for building these types of agentic UIs and UXs. So we've invested a lot in building agents through LangGraph, our framework for building reliable and controllable agents. And a few of the characteristics that we've really focused on with LangGraph are streaming, human in the loop, and generative UI components. And the awesome thing about Assistant UI is they have independently focused on all of those as well. So there's a really great and natural integration point. And so I want to show off a quick demo of using LangGraph Cloud, our platform for deploying LangGraph agents, and Assistant UI components together. And then I'll walk through how it's built and how you can do the same as well. So this is a financial assistant chatbot, and it has access to a bunch of tools. Some of them will correspond to some generative UI components, and some of them will have some human in the loop components, and it streams everything back. So it shows off everything. And so let's jump into it. I can ask a question like, how much revenue did Apple make last year? And I can see that it's using this tool, and it streams back the results. If I look at here, I can see the result of the tool call as well as the exact input. So I have really good visibility into the tool calls that are going on. To show off some of the generative UI components, I can ask a question like, what is its stock price? And we've enabled it so that when it calls this tool, the price snapshot, it shows this little component here, this little widget, which displays the ticker, the price, the day change, and the last time it was updated. And this is still a relatively simple component, but hopefully it shows off how you can use generative UI in your applications. Finally, I want to show off the human in the loop component. So let me ask something like, buy me 5 of those stocks. And this is just a demo, so it's not actually hooked up to anything. But if you had this in real life, you might want to ask the human to manually confirm that what the LLM decided to do is exactly correct. So here I have this transaction component, and it shows the ticker, the company, the quantity, and the purchase price, and then the total cost. And here it gives me this confirm and reject button. So it has this human in the loop aspect for verifying what could potentially be a dangerous transaction. This is much more expensive than just searching the web or something like that. And so I can confirm it, I can see that it goes through, and then it streams back the results. So that shows off streaming, human in the loop, Gen UI. All of these are focuses of Assistant UI as well as LangGraph Cloud, which is why there's such a natural integration point. Now let's see how we can go about building this application and what the components are. So I mentioned Assistant UI. Assistant UI is a great React component library for building chatbot-like UIs. And if we go to the documentation, we can see that there's an integration with LangGraph Cloud, which is a new way to serve LangGraph agents that we just launched. So there's a few ways to use it. You can create a brand new project using the LangGraph Assistant UI template, or you can use it in an existing React project with the various components that it has. We've put together an example of this to make it really easy. So if we go to this Assistant UI stockbroker, we can see that there's a few things in here. If we go into the back end, this is where the LangGraph agent is defined. And so it's defined using LangGraph.js. And so LangGraph.js is supported in the cloud and in the studio. We can go into the langgraph.json file, and we can see our dependencies and our agent definition. And if we go into the code, we can see the agent as it's defined in index.ts. If we scroll to the bottom, we can see the agent definition here, where we have different nodes that do different things. We have a model node, and if we go to where that is defined, we can see that that is simply just calling the model with a given system prompt, and we're giving it some tools. We have a tools node, and this is executing some of the tools. But then we also have these nodes around purchasing stock options, and this just mocks it out for this demo. But this is where we'll plug in the human in the loop component, and we'll see what that looks like in a little bit. We can use LangGraph Studio to take a look at what this agent looks like visually. So we can see that after the start, it goes to the agent node, and from there, it either calls a tool, and we have access to web search tools, stock price tools, or it goes into this basically purchase approval flow, where it will first prepare the purchase details. It will then check for purchase approval. From here, it will either execute the purchase or it will go back to the agent. And so this is LangGraph Studio. This is a nice way to visualize what's going on. We can even interact with the agent here as well. So if we add a message, we can say something like, "Hi, what's Meta's stock price?" And we can see the flow of the agent as it's executing. We can see the tool that it's called, the results, and then the streaming answer that gets back. This is great for debugging, but this isn't an amazing user-facing UI. That's where Assistant UI comes into play. If we go back to the app, I want to show off a lot of the functionality and how it all comes together. The first thing I want to show off is streaming, specifically token by token streaming from the LLM. This may seem like a pretty basic thing. It's in ChatGPT, it's in all the chat apps, but it's a little bit tricky to get right, and it's crucial for nailing that experience for chatbots. So let me ask something where I know it's going to generate a long response. Write me a long poem. I can see that it responds token by token, and it streams the response quickly and in a nice visual way. This is a tight integration between LangGraph Studio and Assistant UI to make this happen. Let's now see some tool calls. So let me ask, what is the stock ticker for Meta? I can see that it shows the tool call that it made. I can then click into that and see information about the response, and then the LLM continues and generates an answer. Great, this shows what's going on, but it's a little bit generic of a tool call representation. Let's now look at a generative UI component. So I'm going to ask it for what the stock price of Meta is. I can see that it calls this tool price snapshot, and then it visualizes the result in a custom component. This is an example of generative UI, and we're seeing a lot of applications like this to make chatbots seem more distinctive, intuitive, and user-friendly. The last thing I want to show off is the human in the loop component. So let me say something like, buy me 5 shares of this. This is a bit more of a dangerous or tricky action because it is writing to the database, so to speak. And it's not actually in this demo because it's just a demo, but the idea is that you can have these actions that are a bit trickier or a bit more dangerous than just looking something up on the internet. They're actually updating your account or making purchases for you. And so you might want to explicitly have a human in the loop, in this case me, to confirm or deny these types of actions. And so here I can just press a confirm button and we can see that it sends it back to the LLM and continues on its way. Human in the loop is something that we've emphasized a lot in LangGraph, and Assistant UI has as well. So it's a great fit. That's it for this video. I'm really excited about this integration because we've been investing a lot in streaming and tool calling and human in the loop in LangGraph. But we need a UI to show it off for user-facing applications, and that's exactly what Assistant UI is. So I hope you check